Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Pitch Talk cast with Mario and Pat. My name is Mario.
My name is Pat. We're really pleased to have you guys. This has kind of been a impromptu idea between us, but we're really excited to talk about baseball, and we're really excited to potentially have baseball this year. So we'll see what happens.
Who knows? Who knows if we'll get it? But in the meantime, there's of course always a preview to do. So we've already, recorded some NL episodes, as you know. This time we're going to go over to the American League side, the DH League, which, by the way, is a discussion that maybe we'll record and put up at some time because, the eternal DH debate. But staying on topic, we're going to go over the American League. And on this first episode of the American League, we're going to go over the most famous division in baseball, I think it's fair to say, the American League. Starting in alphabetical order, as always, we're going to start with a team that is in the pits of hell right now, the Baltimore Orioles. How would you feel right now if you were an Orioles fan?
If I was an Orioles fan, I would be kind of bitter. The core that they had during their runs in the mid 2000s was pretty good, but unfortunately they didn't kind of make it to a World Series, and they didn't really have that much success long term. And their rebuild, how it started, it kind of started slow and off the wrong foot. Manny Machado was kind of their big piece that they had, and they didn't really get that much for him. But fortunately, one good thing that came out of this rebuild was a new front office, and with the new front office, they really had a lot of interesting prospects in the last few years to the farm system.
Yeah, they have. The number one prospect I think we really need to talk about is a phenom of a prospect. I think he got I think he gets 60 grade tools across the board except for speed. His name is Adley Rutschman, if I'm pronouncing that right. He's a switch hitting catcher. He was drafted last year, and you remember I was shocked to see him in big league camp.
Adley Rutschman, first overall pick in the draft last year. Catcher out of Oregon State, which has been one of the best college baseball programs in the United States. For the last few years, they had a lot of big names come out of there. I wasn't shocked because when you have catchers, you want to get them acclimated.
That's fair.
Your catchers are kind of like they're kind of like your linebacker or your safety they're most definitely the captain of the team.
Yeah.
They see everything. They see the whole field. They call the games. They're very, very instrumental in how the games play out.
Absolutely. So you got that. Like, I don't know how common that is though, to see a first round pick, like even a first round pick, to get to big league camp. I think that's impressive in terms of what they saw from him
in 1 year, for sure. But when you have advanced players like that, you push them as fast as you can. I know with Joey Bart, he was in big league camp as well, and just I guess for Joey Bart being around Buster Posey is really nice. So it's really great to learn from, just shadowing him. I know
is gonna have to be a leader though.
Yeah, he is, and he has great leadership skills. From a verbal and from an example standpoint, the reports say that he is very mature, very intelligent. He knows how to lead the team, and he also has a winning pedigree considering the program he came from. So he knows what it takes to win.
Yeah, absolutely, he does. The thing is, we can talk a lot about prospects, and we're going to talk a lot about prospects with the Orioles because really. That's the only good thing to talk about, except for the ballpark as well. Because at the major league level, this team, in case you're not aware, they've lost 223 games over the last 2 years. I think that's a record across the league. Maybe the Tigers have lost more. I'm not sure. But last year, they also set records for ineptitude. They gave up 305 home runs, which is an all-time record. And half of them were to Gleyber Torres. So hopefully those prospects keep coming up. because it's going to be a dire situation in Baltimore. But they've done what they should have done. I think 2 years ago, it's fair to say. They blew it up. They traded everyone away except for Trey Mancini, who's still there, but they blew it up. They traded everyone away. They fired the idiots in the front office, which is long overdue. And
yeah, so I have a new manager to follow up.
Yeah, absolutely. You got any more prospects for this team? Because I don't remember it right now.
Prospects, they have Grayson Rodriguez, Dale Hall, 2 pitchers. They're both in A ball. One's in high A, one's in low A. Yusniel Diaz, right fielder, the main piece in the Manny Machado deal. Austin Hayes, who made his debut last year in center field for the Orioles, you should be at the top of their lineup, and he projects to be a pretty good player. So I'm excited to see him. They also have Anthony Santander. They picked up in the Rule 5 draft from the Indians. He seemed to kind of break out last year and turn into somewhat of an everyday player. So he might wind up being serviceable. They still have Hanser Alberto as well, and they got him from Texas. So they got him off waivers from the Giants, actually. So he might be pretty decent. Right now, the Orioles at the place where they're kind of shifting through young guys that they picked up off the waiver wire or to the Rule 5 draft, or organizational depth guys that they have on their team that might not be highly touted prospects, and see what sticks. Because when you go through guys like that, one of them might hit, couple of them might hit, who knows? But
and there might be a bargain.
There might be a bargain. So it's smart. It kind of shows how their new front office, they have a plan. The last few years they've drafted really well. They kind of figured out what their models are going to be, or how they sign players to. And one thing that really stepped up their ability is signing players internationally, whether it be in Central and South America or the Caribbean. They're in the early, I say for the last 20 years, their presence in the when it comes to signing amateur free agents in Central and South America and the Caribbean has basically been non-existent. And it's really important nowadays that you sign international talent, because the best talent in baseball is coming out of the Dominican Republic, Bahamas, Haiti, Venezuela, Colombia, etc., Cuba, and that's a really important pipeline to have.
So that's really what you have to look for if you're an Orioles fan. I feel your pain. Trust me. But at least there's a plan in place. Like Pat has said, that's something that you got to give organizations credit for. They had the balls to actually admit that they had big issues. They blew it up, and they have a plan in place. So that's at least a good thing. And the ballpark's great, and the announcer's great. That's really there's actually one thing I would have to say to the Orioles. Please let Gary Thorne announce hockey games again, please, because he's being wasted in the booth with the Orioles, like right now. I'm sorry, but I
have one more thing to say, actually.
Go ahead.
Trevor Mancini has cancer, and I just want to say I hope he recovers well, because he was a leader for that team. He has prostate cancer. We hope he recovers. Leader for that team. He was pretty much the bright spot on that team. Hopefully, by the time the Orioles start the next window, he's there. We send all our hopes and prayers if we pray out to him. So
absolutely,
I think that's kind of important to go over. Yeah, that sucks.
That's fucked up on my part.
It's cool. It happens.
Makes sense why they haven't traded him, though. That would be a real fucking bad thing to do. Sure. Yes. So anyway, that's the Orioles. I'm confident in them for the future because they've shown that they actually, have an idea for what they want to do. There's at least a direction. Whether they arrive at that point or not, it remains to be seen. I mean, this is baseball. Rebuilds are pretty much, coin flip. But yeah, I can give him props for that. Trey Mancini, hopefully he recovers. And but as far as the major league level goes, bottom dweller, the Orioles are going to be for a while.
Yes.
So moving on to the second team in the division, alphabetical order, of course. Fuck this team, by the way, for 2007. I hate them. The Boston Red Sox. let me just get this out of the way first. Um, Initially, I thought that what they got back for Mookie Betts was bullshit. But considering the circumstances of the trade and the fact that they included, David Price in his contract in the package, in what was essentially a salary dump, I thought what they got back in return was at least passable. Would you agree?
I agree.
Yeah, like you cannot expect to get a whole lot more when you're trading just one season of Mookie Betts and you're adding David Price in that terrible contract. Like, there's not that much leverage right there because they essentially, told the world Mookie's gone. So, teams could have just waited a year to sign him, but they did trade him. And what they got back in return, the two main pieces they got back in return, they got Alex Verdugo from the Dodgers. He's a really good outfielder. He's a bit of a weird case though, because he has, in my eyes, the ability and the talent to be all-star caliber player at his best. If his injuries kind of don't take him down, but he also has makeup issues. There's been some weird shit that's followed him through the majors, so we'll have to see where he goes. And the second piece was Jeter Downs, which is, by the way, hilarious. A guy named Jeter playing for the Red Sox is funny. He's a second baseman, shortstop, if I'm not mistaken, and he was placed on MLB Pipeline. He was placed immediately as the Red Sox number one prospect, which, to be fair, I think says more about the state of the farm system than Jeter Downs himself, honestly.
Yeah, I agree. The Red Sox have maybe two prospects that are pretty much seen as might be big pieces, with just Jeter Downs and Tristan Cassis.
Aside from that,
their farm system is pretty bare, and that's what happens when you've been in contention as long as they have.
Yeah.
But the Red Sox know how to draft and develop. They brought over exec from Tampa Bay Rays, which is a good thing because Tampa Bay Rays are probably one of the best front office trees in baseball, besides probably the Indians and the Cardinals, maybe, and Houston. So, but onto the lineup. They still have a lot of good pieces. They still have Andrew Benintendi. The talent is there for sure. On the position player side, they have talent. Their weaknesses, honestly, their bullpen and their starting rotation. And
I would say that this feels very much like a top-heavy lineup to me. The thing is that the top of that lineup that's heavy is real heavy. JD Martinez, Xander Bogaerts, Rafi Devers, coming out party, guys like that. But then they have pretty big holes in other spots. So like you said, the bullpen, huge problem. I think the rotation is also a bit of an issue. Well, I don't know if it's an issue, but it's more of an unknown, because two of the key guys in the bullpen, Nathan Eovaldi and Chris Sale, apparently have turned into glass. So we'll have to see where they go with that.
Nathan Eovaldi is rejected to start this year, and we have to see if he can stay healthy. Who knows? If you're lucky, you'll get 150 innings. They have Eduardo Rodriguez.
Yeah,
and
he turned out to be real good.
Yeah, he's only 27, and he was pretty good last year. And if he can stay healthy this year, he's going to be pretty good. They signed Martin Perez from Minnesota. People kind of expected him to be amazing. He was pretty good in the first half last year from Minnesota, but he kind of fell apart in the second half, which was expected. They have Colin McHugh. They signed him from Houston in March. And
I forgot.
While he had an elbow procedure in December 19, and he was a late signing. Based on how late the season is started this year, he probably is expected to start. Chris Sale had Tommy John surgery. That sucks. That's a huge blow, because he also was kind of sick and had elbow inflammation. So, and it's kind of long overdue for someone with his mechanics and how thin he is.
Yeah.
He seemed to get injured every year anyways. So
he has that Kevin Durant frame.
Yeah. Yeah, with people like long, tall, lanky pitchers like him, they're only comparable to basketball players at this point. Like
Yeah,
he's built
or
like
Randy
Brandon
Johnson.
Ingram. Um, Honestly, their bullpen isn't as bad as I thought it was. They have Brandon Workman, Matt Barnes, Darwinson Hernandez, Josh Taylor. Pretty decent guys. We'll have to see. Maybe they have some organizational depth guys that they could bring up. But honestly,
Lacking depth.
another big piece in the Mookie Betts deal is Connor Wong. I really like him a lot. He's a really athletic catcher, and
I forgot to mention him.
yeah, with the Dodgers seem to love athletic catchers, athletic players in general that they can implement
Mold.
swing changes to, and they're really good at that, implementing swing changes that use a player's athleticism to make them more explosive, offensively. And one just think about Connor Wong is he's really athletic enough to play second base and third base as well. So he might kind of bounce around as kind of like the super utility guy at first, unless he is able to supplant himself as maybe the backup catcher behind Christian Vasquez. And Christian Vasquez had a really amazing year last year, so it was nice to see that. But with the Red Sox, they're kind of in a weird position. I see them maybe sitting around 500 this regular season, maybe 80, 81 to 85 games, maybe even at the wild card. And in the shortened season, I kind of see them in maybe competing for a wild card spot still somehow.
If I had to guess, I would pencil them in for definitely over 500 at least. Unless there's just a complete collapse.
Correct.
But I doubt that they have the depth to be a serious threat. And I would pick other teams in the American League way ahead of them as far as, a wild card goes. Rays, the A's, teams like that. Also, side note, Alex Cora got fired. Of course he did. And there's allegations that, I don't know if it's allegations or has been confirmed, that the Red Sox cheated in 2018, the year they won the World Series. I don't know.
So a couple players spoke out, like JD Martinez said that they didn't really find anything.
I mean,
but based on how they used the replay room, it was illegal. But in a sense, it kind of
shady.
It's shady, but at the same time, it's not like blatant. Just like it agrees with something like what the Astros did. But at the same time, the MLB had to save face, especially with Alex Cora also being part of the Houston organization.
Yeah, that would have looked bad.
Yeah, it would have looked bad if they didn't do anything. Taking away a second round draft pick, and it was like a second round draft pick and a fine or something like that. That's not much. The Boston Red Sox could eat that. It's not that big of a deal.
But yeah, that was the last thing I wanted to say about him. I think we both agree over 500 unless something goes horrifically wrong. You said they can fight for the wild card. I don't fully agree. And as a side note, for me, fuck them, because I don't like the Red Sox. Moving on. The evil empire of baseball, probably the most famous sports team in the world, the New York Yankees. It's funny to me that just like 3 years ago, the Yankees were, they were being referred, the farm system, and bringing homegrown players into the lineup, Judge, Sanchez, all those players, and then they traded for Stanton, of course, and
for nothing.
Then,
for nothing.
Yeah, pretty much. And then they decided, fuck it, let's go mid 2000s Yankees all over again. They signed they had a really good, a few really good signings last year. Signing DJ LeMahieu made my heart hurt. And this past offseason, the number one signing, of course, the best pitcher on the market, Garrett Cole. They gave him $324 million over 9 years, the largest contract by far ever given out to any pitcher.
Yeah,
I think it will pay for itself if
it
they win
will.
one ring.
If they win one ring, it will. Honestly, this team is like a Death Star, basically.
Yeah, this is not a whole lot to say.
It's just ridiculous from top to bottom. The depth they have. They have minor leaguers in the wings waiting. They have momentum. They have the big names in all facets. They still have the best bullpen in baseball, probably.
Yes.
And their bullpen.
No, probably.
Yeah.
No, probably. Chapman, Ottavino, Britton, Chad Green.
If we're not taking the variance of relievers in effect from year to year, yes, but there's still some. There's still
on paper.
On paper, absolutely, they had the best bullpen in the league. When Tommy Kahnle leaves and Chad Green are your fourth and fifth best relievers, it's ridiculous. So let's start with the lineup. They have LeMahieu. He's gonna lead off. Judge, Torres, and Stanton. You could put any combination of those 2, 3, and 4, and no one's gonna be angry. Gary Sanchez 5, and then the bottom ring lineup is a hodgepodge of Brett Gardner, Luke Voigt, Mike Tauchman, G.R. Shella, and Aaron Hicks. And then go
ahead.
And then you still have on their bench Mike Ford, Miguel Andujar, and Tyler Wade.
It's fucking stupid, honestly. Like the fact that they got Mike Tauchman as their 4th, 5th outfielder, and he put up like 4 WAR in 100 games last year.
Yeah, the Rockies look very bad for letting him go in that trade.
Yeah, I mean, fam, Ian Desmond got to get his at bats though. Like, what are you gonna tell him? Ian Desmond and Gerardo Parra, they got to get those at bats, man. Like, you need that veteran presence with below 80 OPS plus in the lineup that really changes you. Anyway, staying on topic, the lineup.
In the lineup, seeing Gio Urshela hurts because it's for the Yankees, but I'm happy for him. Yeah. I'm not really bitter about him succeeding because I didn't really expect him to put up like a 320 batting average last year with like 20 home runs, because in his 140 games played with Cleveland, he only batted like 220.
So he was a different player.
Yeah, he was a way different player. I can't really be mad at him. Except for the balls he blew in the 2017 ALDS that cost us it. But anyways,
more pain.
This Yankee team is really good. They have Miguel Andujar. He's probably going to play left field, maybe, if Tauchman doesn't do well, or they have an injury at first. He can play first base as well, but he's not going to play third.
Beast, honestly, to me,
maybe it depends on how it. Because labrum surgery, and that's a very big deal for an infielder, from an offensive standpoint and from his arm, because his arm was his best asset as a player, because he has a bazooka or throwing arm. But he's not going to play third base unless Gio Urshela exists and he's hitting above 250.
Yeah.
Because Gio Urshela is if anyone's going to get a Gold Glove over Matt Chapman, it's Gio Urshela or Josh Donaldson, maybe. That's probably it in the AL.
Yeah.
Maybe Jose Ramirez. But their rotation, they have Garrett Cole, Tanaka, James Paxton, J. Happ, and Jordan Montgomery is going to be their fifth until maybe Domingo Germán comes back.
Losing Sevy really, really, really hurts.
Yes, that's a huge blow, because he looked, although he was a little bit wild last year, and he had a little bit of injuries the last couple of years. You would expect Sevy to take that next step, because in the ALDS, having to go up against Garrett Cole, Sevy, and Tanaka as your first three, that's formidable.
That's pretty scary.
That's scary. How do you even game plan for that as a hitter?
You cannot. I mean, you just cannot. Like the fact that Tanaka or Paxton would be the number 4 pitchers in that hypothetical rotation is pretty fucking ridiculous. Sevy, it just really makes me sad because he's basically gonna miss 2 straight years, which is awful for a pitcher, of his caliber, and how fired up he gets. That's really good for the game. But Yeah. The Yankees. We've touched on it a bit with Sevy. The only issue I can see with this team is health.
Yes, that's pretty much
Judge,
our only weakness.
Judge, and Stanton have both the same kind of issues. They have the same kind of build, same kind of issues. Sevy is going to miss the whole year. James Paxton has some problems, although he should be ready when the season eventually starts. But that's really the only problem I can see with this team because they've had a million injuries every single year. Last couple years.
And they're still able to compete, and that just
Yep.
shows how much depth they have and how good they are at developing players.
Yep.
But so Brian Cashman gave an update actually yesterday, I think, and he said Aaron Judge isn't going to be ready for the beginning of the season. So
Judge should be.
He shouldn't be. He's not going to be, just based on the rib injury. He's not going to be ready. So that's going to take a while to calm down, because a rib, as a baseball player, that's a very big part of. That's a very important part of the body, just based on your swing and fielding and everything. I think Gleyber Torres is kind of gonna have to carry the load. Him and DJ LeMahieu. I don't know if DJ LeMahieu is gonna put up the same numbers he did last year, because they were just ridiculous, and the ball last year was just crazy.
I would doubt it. I would doubt it based off, like you said, the ball, because his power numbers just jumped like through the roof. Because
Yankee
when he
Stadium
played for the Rockies, go ahead.
Although Yankee Stadium is a little league park in itself,
yeah, and it fits his style of going the other way. Because when he played for us, I think the most home runs he hit in the season was like 12, 13, and he hit how many? 24 last year. Yes. So yeah, I mean, you would expect that the power numbers to go down, but I think the on-base percentage will still be good. He's a real good hitter. Makes contact with the ball, goes the other way. He's Jeter-like, when it comes
inside
to
out
that
swing.
Yeah, he has that kind of swing. So, yeah, I agree. I'm expecting personally real big bounce back season from Stanton. I've always been a fan, just because dude has the most raw power of any player in baseball.
I think Judge is more raw power, but I think Stanton's a better hitter.
I don't know if I say that because Stanton has such a weird swing. Like, just the way he swings is just weird. It only works for him. Like, you need to go
he's
watch
so
him.
big. Yeah, he's so big. Just that's the way he has to swing.
Yeah.
Gary Sanchez. Wow, it seems like Gary Sanchez has been around forever. He's only 27. I don't know. Gary Sanchez is going to be really important this year because
his defense,
how he calls games, his defense, he really needs to get better at blocking bounce pitches and pitches in the dirt.
Yeah,
because the guys in the Yankees pitching staff, their stuff is hellacious, and oof.
Yeah,
that's going to be a big point. Their defense. How does Miguel Andujar bounce back? He's going to be getting the reps in left field, probably. He might be getting the reps at first base.
Luke Voigt.
Luke Voigt's going to be pretty big too. Can he stay healthy for a full year? What are the numbers he's going to put up? Brett Gardner is Brett Gardner.
Yeah.
So
I find Brett Gardner really unique player. Yeah. He's had low key. He's had a real good career.
Very good career.
Really good career.
The main thing for me, and Aaron Hicks is going to be back, so
yeah,
he might be playing trading. He might come back in the lineup, maybe play center field. Brett Gardner could be a bench piece. So we'll have to see what happens. But with the Yankees, I have high expectations. I expect them to make a deep playoff run. I don't think they're going to run away with the division this year, especially if the AL and NL East are playing together, because they have to go through Atlanta and Tampa Bay and Washington. So that's a pretty good.
Yeah,
it wouldn't be as easy as it would be based on the three division lineup that they had. So we'll have to see.
Absolutely, I think they're going to play at 110 win pace pretty much.
It depends. Who knows how teams are going to start off? We'll just have to see because one bad start can ruin you, and we've seen
Yeah,
good teams start off slow. And the shortened schedule is going to benefit kind of middle tier and lower tier teams better than it would
yeah,
the best teams because the best teams know they have 162 games in the regular season in order to kind of get it together and turn it on.
yeah,
And it's not an endurance race because usually as the season goes on, the good teams show
yeah.
that they can
Slowly
maintain the
but
consistency
surely,
and the pace. Yeah, and the worst teams kind of expose their weaknesses and their flaws. So we'll have to see.
yeah. That's a topic in and of itself. That's another podcast.
Yeah, it
in and
is.
of
That's a whole
itself.
nother podcast by itself. So yeah, I've been saying that a lot, but I have high expectations for the Yankees. Let's just put it that way, just
Yeah, I
based on
think.
the amount of talent they have.
Yeah, I think everyone does. Everyone knows it's World Series or bust for the Yankees. It's always that way, and this year it's really no exception. Next up, we got the only team in this division, in my estimation, that can really challenge the Yankees in some way, especially in a shortened season. The Tampa Bay Rays. This is a team that I've said before. I have a ton of sympathy for this team because they just have so many things working against them. Cheap ownership, ugly fucking stadium in a real bad spot in Tampa, Florida baseball. Like they have so many things working against them, and they still managed to be competitive. They've made a lot of their typical Tampa Bay moves this offseason. Just to name a few, they traded a couple prospects for Jose Martinez from the Cardinals. He's a good bat. He'll probably, rotate in the DH spot. They signed Yoshitomo Tsutsugo, real good Japanese player, third baseman. He'll probably play third, DH first. He'll rotate. And the one that was kind of surprising to me and to Blake Snell was trading Tommy Pham, who's a player who will give you damn near all-star production, to the Padres for Hunter Renfroe and a prospect. Do you think that the moves they made them worse or better? Because I feel like when it comes to what they lost and what they gained, I feel like they kind of remain in the same spot.
There's always going to be a rhyme or reason to how Tampa Bay does things.
Yeah,
you might question it first, but their front office is so great that more than likely they wind up figuring it out. And to me, Manuel Margot and Kevin Kiermaier are going to be an obvious platoon, and that's probably going to be the best defensive platoon ever for center field.
Yeah.
If they're gonna run down everything. Hunter Renfroe, he's gonna play decent defense and give you some power. So, and they needed a right-handed bat too. They have a lot of lefties. And I think the Jose Martinez thing, it made sense, but signing Yoshitomo Tsutsugo, he's probably going to be their DH, and you're probably going to play Yandy at third. You're going to put G-Man Choi at first, or you might swap Yandy and G-Man Choi depending on how you feel or how they perform, or whatever. They have Brandon Lowe at second base, and he was pretty good. They have Austin Meadows. They still have Joey Wendell. Yeah, Austin Meadows, they fleeced Pittsburgh in that Chris Archer trade. That was highway robbery. The strength of this team is their pitching. And honestly, they still have Willie Adames too, and they have Wander Franco. He should be in the MLB by next year. But they're gonna play service time games.
We can talk about Wander Franco in a couple minutes because he deserves his own.
He deserves his own segment, honestly.
Yeah, he deserves his own segment.
Their starting rotation is great. Charlie Morton, Blake Snell, Tyler Glasnow, Yanni Chirinos, and Ryan Yarbrough. That is pretty terrifying. Can Tyler Glasnow stay healthy? I kind of expect Charlie Morton, Blake Snell to stay healthy. Yanni Chirinos and Ryan Yarbrough, two good back pieces. Back end pieces. their bullpen is filthy.
Yeah, there's just no other way to put it, really. Filthy.
Yeah.
That's the only word.
Nick Anderson, Diego Castillo, and Jose Alvarado as their top three is pretty good, and they're all pretty young. They also have Chaz Rowe, Colin Poche, Oliver Drake, Peter Framinks, and Jalen Beeks. They also have about maybe 8 other relievers they're going to swap in and out throughout the year on their lineup.
Yeah, and they'll get production.
Yeah, they're going to get production from them. They have their AAA bullpen is better than some MLB bullpens, honestly.
Yeah.
When you have 100%. Enough bullpen depth to trade Emilio Pagan.
Yeah, and not feel it.
And it doesn't really matter because you still have Nick Anderson, Diego Castillo, Jose Alvarado. And the Nick Anderson trade was great. They gave up Jesus Sanchez, but they have the best farm system in baseball, in my opinion.
Yeah. Yes.
They have both. And so they can do that.
Everywhere I've read, it says, unanimously top 3, at least.
Yes, at least. But with the Rays, they have their 40-man roster is kind of crowded, and they also have a lot of talent that is on a 40-man left. So they're going to be making little trades like the Jose Martinez trade and the Hunter Renfroe trade, just to kind of swap pieces in and see what sticks and what doesn't.
Get expiring contracts off.
Yeah. They also traded for Randy Arozarena, and he might be a good player. They have Nate Lowe. They have Brendan McKay. They have Lucius Fox. They have a lot of good pieces. They still have Josh Lowe. He's at AA. Brent Honeywell Jr. If he can stay healthy, he's going to still be pretty good. Vidal Brujan, second baseman. He's probably the best second base prospect in baseball behind Nick Madrigal right now.
I would agree.
So we'll just have to see. The Rays are a team. If you love baseball and you like small market teams with unconventional styles and how the front office does things and makes moves and have a really creative mindset, the Rays are for you. If you're new to baseball and you just want let's say you watch Moneyball and you're just inspired to see a Moneyball type team, the Rays are your team.
That team. Yeah. If you want to cheer for an underdog, the eternal underdog, the Rays are for you. Like, that's the team. We started talking about Wander Franco. In case any of you listening are not aware, Wander Franco is the Rays' number 1 prospect, and he's the Majors' number 1 prospect. He's 19 years old. He's a switch-hitting shortstop, and he is the only prospect I've seen in my admittedly short time watching baseball, but he's the only prospect I've ever seen to receive an 80 grade overall, which is insane as a 19-year-old.
He's the first he's the first player in minor league player and to get an 80 grade from Fangraphs or Future Value. In my opinion, from just watching the video and seeing his stats and everything and his profile as a player, he's Jose Ramirez offensively from a base running and hitting standpoint with Francisco Lindor defense. He's basically put Francisco Lindor and Jose Ramirez together, in my opinion, just from a statistical standpoint. Because all 3 of them are switch hitters. They're all elite base runners, and honestly, Wander Franco might be the best base runner of the bunch. He's a pretty big shortstop. He's 5'11", 6 feet tall, so he's around the same size as Lindor. He projects to stay at shortstop. He plays plus defense. He has a plus arm. Although he might not be as good of a defender as Lindor, he's still going to be a pretty serviceable defender at shortstop. So
he's going to be a plus.
Anybody you can get from shortstop is great. And mind you, they have Willie Adames, and he's a pretty good shortstop himself.
Yeah.
So, but honestly, Wander Franco, and he has a cool name, like Wander Franco. That's just a cool name.
Yeah.
The way that it's great. So. Honestly,
it sounds like a Hall of
It's a baseball player name. Yeah, it's a baseball player name for sure.
Yeah.
And so I'm really excited to see him. I wish we could have saw him in spring training, or we could saw him in minor league spring training, wherever he is. he reached Double A last year, and he's only like 19, 20 years old. So he's gonna reach the majors very soon.
Do you think he's gonna reach the majors this year or next? Because if the season was full, honestly, and he kept progressing like he has, I would have been surprised if the Rays hadn't brought him up towards the end of this
he
year.
reached high A ball last year, and he probably would have started in maybe high A this year, just because the Rays are a cheap organization and they know that they kind of have to play a service time game with them.
Yeah.
So I think he would have reached the majors maybe
2021.
possibly if he just tore baseball apart this year like he has last year. He maybe would have reached the majors, or he probably would have been in AAA by the end of the year. But I say the beginning of 2021, or by June 2021, is when he should be in the MLB. But I wouldn't be surprised if the Rays somehow finagle it to where he made it to the MLB in 2022. If he winds up having developmental struggles in his first cup of coffee in the MLB in 2021, possibly. He won't be a full-time player until 2022, unless he just tears through the minor leagues this year and next year. And who knows, he might be a depth piece in the taxi squad this year, based on the current offer that MLB owners made to the players. They might see that as a chance for him to get major league development because they feel he's that talented. So, and the Rays are although the Rays are cheap, they're also very creative, and they could be very progressive with him because they recognize how talented he is, and they know how talented he is. This is kind of a bit of a off topic, but if the Indians were to do a one-on-one for anybody, for Francisco Lindor, it would be Wander Franco.
Yeah, I have to think if the Rays would actually take Lindor for Franco. I think they would, right. But
yeah, they would. But Lindor is so expensive. There's no point.
Like, just the fact that it's a question whether they take him says enough, about both players.
Right.
So, the Rays, they just feel like they're a team. Like I said, I just really like, because I like small market teams. I fuck with them. But this is not me like trying to be too optimistic. I genuinely feel like the Rays can be somewhere between 95, and 100 win pace. And if the Yankees falter or they have like a few extra injuries, I think they have the pieces and the front office and the managerial, ability to actually, take the fight to them hand to hand. Would you agree?
Yeah. Also, Kevin Cash is amazing. He deserves credit just how he maneuvers in the bullpen and through games and stuff. He's easily
he deals with everything.
A top 5 manager in baseball right now, and he's really cool. He was in the Indians organization for a while, so but the Rays, they're a really fun team, easy team to root for, and honestly, if any team could go head to head with the Yankees and beat them in the division race, whether it be, honestly, they could come out the AL East on top, and I wouldn't be surprised.
Me neither. I think that there's a couple things that got to go right for them, of course, like for every team. I think, we talked about Austin Meadows. I think that if he confirms, that what he did last year was the norm and he remains an all-star, that's a real good starting point. But the thing with the Rays is, remember when I talked about, when we talked about Adam Eaton and Cesar Hernandez and players like that who are just above average players? Right. The Rays are the kings of just having a whole bunch of just those above average players, like 2 win players, 1.5 win players, just scattered around. Like they don't have black holes anywhere. That's the thing that makes them great. They don't allow themselves to give poor players, 400 plate appearances. Rockies. So that's the thing with them. If I had to predict a season, like the season standings for them over a full, 162 game season, I would probably say 97 wins, 96, 97 wins.
I say 90 to 97. That would be probably my shooting for the first wild card.
Yeah, I agree. Them and the A's would be my choices, like last year. So yeah. If any of y'all are just like they're just trying to get into baseball and don't know who to root for, please don't root for the Yankees or the Red Sox or the Dodgers. That's corny. And if you want to root for an underdog, yeah, the Rays are the team for you. Real bright present, real bright future, and really competent organization, which will be good for your mental health. So, moving on, the very last team of the division. This is it's a team that's kind of in that stage where they're sort of exiting the rebuild, but they're still in the in the rebuild. The Toronto Blue Jays. They had a window before in the mid 2000s. In the middle of the past decade. My bad. And they couldn't quite get there. This looks like they're gonna have a window once again in the in the middle part of this decade. I think they have the young talent to do it. I really do.
I agree as well. They kind of did a rebuild really well because after the ALC's appearance in 2016 and the Indians swept them, they kind of packed it up.
Yeah.
But at the same time, they kind of did it right, and they also have a really good president and head of the front office, John Hart, who was the Indians front office before he left. It kind of shows how the Indians tree, front office tree, is all over the MLB. But enough about gloating about my team and their front office.
I actually thought they traded Josh Donaldson a bit too late.
They did, but at the same time, he was kind of hurt. So
yeah, he was a bit of an unknown. Yeah, that would make sense.
Yeah. So they have a really good farm system. Their lineup is full of young guys. They kind of seem to like the sons and stuff, and the sons of major league and professional players. They got Bo Bichette, the son of Dante Bichette. They got Kevon Biggio, who's the son of Greg Biggio. They got Lourdes Gurriel Jr. The Gurriel family is baseball royalty in Cuba. Vladimir Guerrero Jr., the son of Hall of Famer Vladimir Guerrero Sr., a baseball royalty, Afro-Latino baseball royalty in the Dominican Republic.
Yes.
So they have a pretty good team from a position player standpoint. I think Bichette's probably going to lead off. They got Kevon, maybe Biggio will lead off. Then they got Bichette, Gurriel. They got Vladito. I like that nickname a lot, Vladito. They got Travis Shaw. He should be decent for them at first base. They got Ryan Grichuk in center field. Can he stay healthy? Who knows? They got Teoscar Hernandez, Derek Fisher from Houston. And he's kind of a tooled up guy. And if he could put it together, he could be pretty decent. And they have Danny Jansen, I'm sorry. And with catchers, he should be a pretty good catcher, but with catchers, the development path is really unlimited.
Yeah, it's a bit weird. It's a bit weird.
It's weird because it's so difficult to play the position.
Yeah,
and
it's very defense heavy in the minors.
Yeah,
so
and then
the bat kind of comes around a bit later. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's kind of hard from
physically.
Physical standpoint. Just you get beat up playing catcher. You're in the squat. You're taking 180, 90 mile per hour pitches to the body repeatedly. You're basically like running to the ground in front of pitches and stuff like that. You got to deal with the backswing, things like that too. So we'll see. They made a free agent signing, Hyunjin Ryu. I think it was pretty smart.
I was about to talk about it. I like what they have as far as position players. I think the whole lineup and the defense could be semi done, quote unquote, in the next year. The pitching staff worries me a little bit more. They did sign Hyunjin Ryu, like you said. I thought it was a bit weird because I thought the Angels made more sense for him, just as far as teams that are kind of closer to actual contention, or at least they think they are.
I agree. Well, the Angels, they needed pretty much every decent free agent starting pitcher last year, but And the fact that they nixed the Ross Stripling trade was just awful. But
Yeah, they're fucking horrible.
anyways,
Like,
um,
anyway, so Ryu is a real good pitcher. I actually think, if I'm not mistaken, that he has one of the lowest ERAs in the majors in the past 3 years. The problem is he's not really as durable as you might want your ace to be. They also signed Tanner Rourke, who is the quintessential, back end of the rotation, inning eaters, type of guy, who is actually a real valuable signing for a team like this, a young team like this, with bullpen struggles. And that kind of leads me to my next point, which is the bullpen. Aside from Ken Giles, who, by the way, I'm shocked that he's still on this team. I thought they would have traded him by now. Aside from him, there's really nothing dominant here whatsoever. And they do have a few good starting pitching prospects in the majors, which we'll talk about right now. But I think the pitching staff as a whole just needs a bit more work. And I would say it's like a couple of steps behind the lineup in terms of development.
Yeah, their pitching staff is pretty old. 3 out of their 4 pitchers in their starting rotation are above 32 or are 32. Most of the guys in their bullpen are around 30 years old. So it's very weird because the lineup is young, but their bullpen and starting rotation are old, and there's not much there. So the Hyunjin Ryu signing kind of makes sense, but it doesn't, because
they're still years away.
They're still a few years away. They still got to wait for Nate Pearson to come up, and he's going to be pretty good. When you have a guy who can sit 99, 100, and he's like 6'6", 6'7", so he's going to be durable. And he has that filthy curveball, and he can actually throw for strikes while throwing that hard. And he's huge. And he was in AAA last year, so he should be in the majors maybe this year or next year, depending on what they want to do. They got Simeon Woods Richardson from the Mets in the Marcus Stroman trade. They have Anthony Kay from the Marcus Stroman trade as well, so we'll have to see what happens. But I feel like they should have gave Marcus Stroman an extension.
I kind of agree, because
if they were gonna, he's like 28, 29.
Yeah, I think you can justify that.
Yeah, I mean, he's also a ground ball pitcher too. So but honestly, with the defense for the Blue Jays, a ground ball pitcher wouldn't be the best fit anyways. Especially on the left side, it's gonna be a little rough with Vlad Diesel and Bo Bichette back there.
Which kind of leads me to something that I also wanted to talk about, which is I've heard some talk about. I feel like some people were a bit let down by Vlad last year. I was not one of them. I thought that he did real well, considering he's only 20, and he was passable to me. The one thing that wasn't passable was his weight and his defense at third. And he really does need to fix that, because if he doesn't, then he's going to end up at first or DH full time, and that's really going to kill his value. So, yeah, he needs to fix that.
I think Vlad wound up at first, regardless. Because, I think he's going to stay at third maybe if he gets his weight together, then he's going to be maybe third for 5 years instead of 3. Okay,
that's fair. Eventually, he's going to have to.
Eventually, he's going to be at first base. Eventually, it's only a matter of time, because he's built like Prince Fielder.
Yeah. He's 21. He's 2021, and he is built like in that way. He's not built like his father.
His father was built like a NBA shooting guard.
Yeah.
His father was like Rip Hamilton, basically.
Yeah. And they're real different athletes and real different hitters too, which I think is fun. But they have the same swing, pretty much.
Yeah, very extremely same swing. It's crazy.
Yeah. But that's the thing with the Blue Jays. They're in that spot. They're not in the Orioles spot, like nowhere near close, because like they see they can see the prospects that will take them, to the next step, hopefully. But there's still clearly a whole lot of work to be done. The lineup, I, I like Kevin Biggio a lot, because he is it Kevin Biggio or Lourdes Gurriel, the one who walks like 16% of the time. I think it's Kevin Biggio.
It's Biggio.
Yeah. So I like him because young players with with the ability to draw walks at that clip, I think they're really easy to predict as far as how
It's
they're going to.
it's Joey Votto-esque.
Yeah, like it's just not common to see a player that young with with that ability to control the strike zone, draw walks, and do all that. So that's really impressive to me. I'd have him leading off if I was me. But yeah, the position player side, you can see the end of the tunnel. The pitching, the pitching staff is a bit more, especially the bullpen. It's a weird situation, like you said, because it is weird that the lineup is real young, but the pitching staff, like you said, is pretty old. So I think that's kind of a contrast. I think that that will naturally, quote unquote, fix itself as the years go by. But if I had to bet, I would say that it's going to be at least 2 more years before the Blue Jays go solidly above 500.
I agree. It kind of looks like a 75-win team.
Yeah.
They're gonna have a pretty, let's say, top 15 pick in the draft for the next few years, maybe, until they kind of get all together. Unless they swing some trades for some guys or some pitchers.
Yeah, Ken Giles should be gone.
Yeah, he should be. He was kind of hurt last year, and he kind of gets hurt every year. But they have some interesting young bats too on their bench that they can probably trade for some pitching. But they did trade Marcus Stroman for Anthony Kane and Simeon Woods Richardson, so that should be the start of them stockpiling. And then they have Nate Pearson too, and he looks like he's going to be an ace as soon as he walks through the door to the big leagues, maybe. So
yeah,
it's like Mario said, they the potential is there, but it's going to be a couple of years until the Blue Jays are back in the playoffs.
Yeah,
or maybe back even competing for a wild card in say 2-3 years. But the Blue Jays have great fan base. They go to games, so they're gonna have money. They could make free agent signings. They could make trades because they have one of the best front offices in baseball as well. So we'll just have to wait and see. You kind of never know. But it seems like the Blue Jays kind of step it up every decade somehow. And they're just there.
Yeah, at some point every decade they do something. So yeah, they're just like kind of to wrap up the Blue Jays. When we do the White Sox, eventually, people, you will see that we say a lot of a lot of the things that we say about the White Sox are kind of similar to what we just said about the Blue Jays, but we'll say that the White Sox are 1 or 2 steps ahead, right?
Yeah, they have the pitching. They have the young pitching.
Yeah, so they're kind of in the same spot as the White Sox when we eventually get to them, but just like 1-2 steps, behind them. But I mean, it's cool. Like, this happens to every team, not called the Yankees or the Red Sox or the Dodgers or this happens to every team. It had to happen. I mean, at least they got elite level position player talent and a couple of real good pitchers. Like, they see something. So yeah, if I had to predict the record for them, you said 75 wins. I think that's pretty accurate. I don't think there's any way they crack 80 because Red Sox, Rays, of course Yankees, all way better than them. Someone's gonna have to eat losses, and if they play with the NL East as well, there's a lot of good teams in that division too. So I think the record may be a bit less impressive than the actual talent on the team, at least as far as the position players go. But yeah, that's kind of it. I think the standings for this division are pretty much set in stone, though.
Yeah, they are. Yankees or Rays, I could kind of flip flop either way, and then it's Boston. Then it's the Blue Jays and the Orioles.
Yeah, like it's pretty simple. This is a division that's always been funny to me because it's a division filled with hitter parks, just depth for pitchers everywhere.
Yeah, being a lead pitcher in the AL East is kind of hard because there's great lineups in small parks everywhere,
Yeah, the fact that
except
Fenway
for the
Stadium,
Orioles.
the fact that Fenway Park is still like played
Fenway is stupid,
is weird to
but
me.
it's also Fenway Park, so excuse my language.
So yeah, I think we're kind of done. This was the American League East preview. Just in case, a small reminder of the standings: Yankees/Rays, Red Sox, Blue Jays, Orioles. Pretty simple division to preview, really. This was the Pinch Talk podcast with Mario and Pat. I was Mario.
I'm Pat. Thank you guys for listening. We appreciate it.
For sure. And stay tuned for everything we're going to drop. Ideally, should be a podcast weekly. But I mean, with all this, coronavirus shit, we don't know when the season's going to start and, when the negotiations are going to keep coming. But there are a lot of topics to talk about. So stay tuned because every week there should be a new podcast up. So thank y'all for listening.
Yes.
And this was Pitch Talk. See you.